So it's all for play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Hello, Aston Villa fans, and welcome to For the Love of Paul McGrath podcast. Coming back, I suppose, a small bit earlier. I did say that I was going to have this out on Saturday, but I'm going to put it out today instead. This is a pre-recorded podcast for in our Who Replaces Emi Martinez series. Now, obviously, we know that Emi Martinez isn't guaranteed to leave, but if he does, there's no harm in thinking about who the hell is going to replace the world's number one. So it got me thinking, and last time, if you haven't seen it already, we did a La Liga edition of this, where I looked at 4 goalkeepers that I thought, well, some that we've been linked with, actually all of them we've been linked with at some stage, and I gave my views on those guys. Just for a caveat as well, this is my first time in the foray of goalkeeper scouting. I find it very difficult to see what their weaknesses are, but getting better at seeing what their strengths are. So these are all, and I put it, incomplete evaluations, but at least they're a starting point on some players that I think could potentially come in to replace Emi Martinez, because as we know, Aston Villa will be looking for at least 1, if not 2 goalkeepers come the summer. So without further ado, let me take a little look at who we are going to look at here. So I've taken 5 goalkeepers here from Ligue, and thank you to some people for the suggestions here. It's actually been that all of them bar 1 were on my list to look at here. So thank you guys for the suggestions on that. So taking a quick look, let's go straight to Lucas Chevalier. Lucas Chevalier's height is 6 foot 3.5 inches. He's right-footed and he's 24 years of age. Plays with Lille. As a profile, he fits very much so the Emi Martinez profile. When we just look at his radial graph there, he's actually conceded less goals in recent times than Emi Martinez as well. So from a profiling point of view, he does profile pretty similar, even though I just realized I spent his surname incorrectly there. Does profile pretty similar to Emi Martinez. He is extremely highly thought of in world football. He's somebody that will move from Lille soon. Lille are in a kind of quandary at the moment. A lot of good players. They're going to lose Jonathan David on a free, and they may still need to cash in on another player to try and maybe replace Jonathan David. Lille obviously being in the Champions League. They will need to do, or Champions League last season, they will need to do that. So it's going to be pretty interesting what they do with their goalkeeper. But he's going to be wanted. He's going to be wanted not just by Aston Villa, but a lot of clubs. It was reported today as well, and I'm doing this on Friday, the 23rd of May, that Aston Villa have been very, very keen on Chevalier. So let's see if that does come to pass, because there's some really, really good things to look at here. Obviously, when we look at his save percentage there, he saves 75% of all shots thrown at him, in and around the same mark as Emi Martinez. He's kept 27.3% clean sheet record over the course of this year. Hasn't faced an awful lot of crosses, but then Lille are a more ball-dominant team. They're a team that's going to have the ball an awful lot more, so that's not a metric that I'm too concerned about when I watched him. So how am I going to put this? So when I watched him, it was difficult to know whether he's good under the ball. And this is my biggest issue with scouting goalkeepers, is that if you don't have a sample set, you can't give a definitive on it. So I can't say that he's weak at crosses. I can't say that he's really good at crosses, because he didn't face a hell of a lot of them, when the games that I watched. But what I can say is that this guy, he has brilliant reflexes. So shot stopping ability is top notch. Like, it really is. He's incredibly quick at getting down low. So what I mean by that is, like, for a guy who's 6'3.5", he can get off his planted foot and get down to balls incredibly quickly. Like, really, it's an absolute art form to watch him do that. And I think that's, that jumps off the screen to me as well. I don't know whether it's to do with his hips, whether it's to do with his center of gravity or anything like that, but it's noticeably good how well he can get down to shots. What's also what also is really noticeable is how quickly he can get back up again. So he gets down to shots, gets back up, and his second save, I don't know, I don't have a statistic for his second save ratio or percentage, but it must be colossal high. It really must, because he's brilliant at it. So reactions-wise, I was incredibly impressed by this guy from a reaction-wise point of view. And therefore, as well, likewise, his footwork. You know, you need to have good footwork for that. I think all goalkeepers now need to have good footwork, whether it's going to be playing the ball out from defence or whether it's going to be, you know, as I mentioned before, getting down and be able to shift your feet to get to that second ball or that third ball, or the calamity that happens in the middle of the goal mouth. And he does have that. You know, he's also comfortable receiving back passes with either foot as well. You know, he's driving down here as right-footed, but there was no glaring issues with him with playing out the ball with his feet. The statistics here make it difficult to make a determination on that as well. You know, you're only looking at really the amount of attempts he has and long passes and so on. I don't have any concerns with regards to him and playing with the ball at his feet. For me, I thought it was you know, he was well able to do it in the 3 games that I've watched. So that is something that he will need, obviously, in this Unai Emery team. He has very much got sweeper keeper instincts. So it's a weird one, because once again, the stats don't match up with what I saw on the tape here. You see his heat map there, and he does come out of his box. His actions outside the penalty area come in at 0.61. I would have thought that would have been at least closer to nearly 2 per game, because he's well able to play and to come out of his box. And he's very composed in those moments as well. When he creates the pressure, he's composed in those moments. And that's another reason why I think him being profiling towards the same levels as Martinez, I think is important. And that's what Martinez does as well. When he creates issues, he can solve those issues as well. So I think that's really important to note. And I saw that on his tape too. You know, when he comes out, he's quick off the mark, able to deal with through balls behind the high line. And then in those moments, he's composed. When he has the ball at his feet also as well, he's composed. You know, he doesn't rush a pass. He waits. He scans the field, and he looks at home with having the ball at his feet as well. He's very kind of, as I said, with regards to his feet again, you know, I don't see any issues with his reflexes, with his shuffling from side to side, getting across his box. At 24 years of age, I wouldn't expect that, you know, from a 24-year-old. So to me, I was really impressed with him. I you know, it was an enjoyable watch, because he was able to shot. And you know what? I'm going to be really honest. I enjoyed watching these goalkeepers in La Liga, in Ligue 1, more than I did the guys in La Liga. Because they felt like they had more work to do, and you could see certain things from them that they were obviously good at. I don't know why that was, but maybe it was my second time around doing it as well, because last time in La Liga was my first time. But I enjoyed this, and I certainly enjoyed watching this guy's tape. So one of the things I want to mention there as well is his goals prevented above goals expected is 8.42. So essentially, this guy was blocking marbles, he saved 8.42 goals more than he was expected to let in. So, you know, I speak pretty highly of this guy when from watching him, and I think that, you know, if anybody wants to go and look at a YouTube highlight clip and stuff like that, or highlight reel of him, you will be excited when you watch him too. So this guy, I would hope, would be in the rotation for Aston Villa if they were to move on from Emi Martinez, or if the inevitable happens, or the unthinkable happens, should I say, that they do move on. I think that this guy would be high on their list. I know I said I'm not too confident in talking about weaknesses, but one of the things that I saw about him, and it's funny because I saw it about goalkeepers in the La Liga too, is kind of this guy's, like, he didn't show that much of a physical presence when he got caught up in traffic, you know, trying to maneuver his way around the box for corners. Again, I mentioned that an awful lot about the La Liga guys. I don't know whether that's a bias that I have, but I think it's worth mentioning here as well, because it was noticeable as well from him, you know, trying to maneuver his way around big, tall defenders that were in around him. he needed to use all of his footwork to be able to do that. He wasn't able to barrel through people or like Emi Martinez has been able to do. But then again, I do say this again. I did say this in the last one. We're dealing with the world's number one here. We're dealing with somebody who's a very, 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 very good goalkeeper in Emi Martinez, and somebody who's incredibly rounded. So don't take that as a negative. It could also be my bias and stuff that I'm seeing with Emi Martinez that I'm not seeing with these other guys. But I'm sure I would have that with any other leader in their position in the league, in world football, if I was to look at any other player. So that's Lucas Chevalier. I am really, really impressed by him. Another player that we've been linked with is Marcin Bulka from Nice. Polish goalkeeper, 6'6", so a lot bigger guy. He's a bit older. He's coming in at almost 26 years of age. He's a guy who hasn't got an awful lot of run of it in his young career. But then again, for a goalkeeper, that's kind of natural. But this guy has been in a lot of good academies. Started out his academy career with Chelsea. Stayed two years with Chelsea, and then when he was 19, he moves to Paris Saint-Germain, stays 2 years there, and he goes out on loan to Charleroi, and he goes out on loan to the Spanish League 2 as well. The team just escapes me at the moment. And then he gets his move to Nice in 2021, 2022 when he's 21 years of age. And he has to bide his time. So experience-wise, this guy only has 2 years of goalkeeping really behind him. His loan spells to the French second division and to the Spanish second division didn't really pan out with a lot of minutes, a lot of games. He only played, I think it was like 13 games over those two loan periods as well. So the loans didn't really work for him. But he comes into Nice, he gets his chance at 23 years of age, and he plays 34 games last year, and he's played 34 games this year as well. So limited sample set for this guy. Once again, you could probably put him in the same mold as Emi Martinez, had to wait for his chance, albeit Emi Martinez had to wait until he was a lot older. So when we look at this guy here, what have I written down here for his strengths for this guy? So yeah, once again, shot stopping ability and great reflexes. Again, like just really, really good at that. In 2023, 2024, he had the highest save percentage of any goalkeeper within Ligue 1. And again, this guy is able to, I mentioned about Lucas Chevalier being able to get down to corners at 6'6". This guy has an incredible push off. Like this guy can jump incredibly high. That's what it looks like. And I know he's 6'6" and he's going to get over people, but to be able to jump as high as he does it was an eye opener, whether it's getting to the top corner, whether it's trying to stop a ball from going over the bar for a corner, whether it's getting out in traffic. The difference between this guy and Chevalier getting out in traffic is night and day. This guy can do it. And he's physical and aerial presence, obviously, as you would expect it. I think I read somewhere as well when I was looking at him, he's got a wingspan of about 2.15 meters, which to me sounds like incredible. It seems incredible length. It's like what's that, about 7.5 foot of a wingspan, which is crazy. Which is a big wingspan. So he's going to get there. And look, when we look at his crosses faced and his crosses claimed, he comes for crosses confidently. He stopped 8.6% of those as well. And, also when we look at his save percentages and the amount of saves he's had to make in a game, that tells a story about this guy. He's been more worked than the previous goalkeeper, obviously being at Nice. He doesn't have the same defense around him. But he's made a ton of saves and his save percentage has stayed high as well. His goals against metric there is 1.38 per game. So you can see it's 1.38 goals per game. But he has had a higher amount of shots against, so it's difficult once again, for me to start talking about weaknesses here on goalkeepers. I have to tell you what I see, and what I saw was he was busier than the last goalkeeper. And I think by the laws of averages, if you're busier than somebody, if you're going to make a lot more saves, and if your defense isn't bailing you out as much as maybe other teams, you are going to not make mistakes. That's the wrong word, because he actually hasn't made many mistakes. He seems to be really rock solid, but you're going to concede goals. And as you can see here, he's conceded 6 goals from outside the box. Now, why do I think that is relevant? Is sometimes people hit screamers against you. Sometimes people aren't closed down. Sometimes those shots from outside the box don't get blocked down. So to blame a lot of those on goalkeepers without seeing every single one of them, to me, would be a false economy. But Marcin Bulka, absolutely, once again, playing with the ball at his feet, throwing out the ball. So actually, there was an interesting thing I saw with Bulka, was that he didn't really. He was fine with the ball at his feet. fine with the ball at his feet is what I would say. But he was brilliant at distributing it longer than he was shorter. He's also not afraid to get the ball out quick. Like, he's a quick passer of the ball. Spoke about Chevalier being composed with his feet. He takes his time, looks for passing lanes, isn't afraid to have pressure coming in. I don't know whether Marcin Bulka is afraid to have pressure coming in because he gets that ball out quickly. Specifically, when he claims a ball, he's not afraid to run through the traffic, as I mentioned before, and throw that ball out and get the attacks going sharpish. So that's something that was a small bit different to Chevalier. He throws the ball 5.08 times per game, and his long pass completion percentage is really high as well. It's one of the highest within Europe currently. So really interesting guy as well. We have been linked to him. And it seems that Villa are interested in this guy, and it's an interesting piece. The negatives for me are lack of high-level competition, lack of experience, but the physical tools are absolutely there to see. So watch this guy as well. Go watch him yourselves and let me know what you think of him, because, as I say, I saw a lot of positives here, and glad that we have been linked with him. Now, going to get on to talk about a couple of guys, right? Couple of guys here that may not be on people's radars. This guy was not on my radar. And I can't remember who it was in the comments of the last video that asked me to look at him. And I'm happy that they did, because Yahia Fofana of Angers was a fun watch, because he was he had shots fired at him left, right, and center in games. And he was a busy goalkeeper. And I thought he was, once again, another young goalkeeper, only 24 years of age, but I thought that he was very, very, very capable. He's only 6 million. 6 million is his transfer market value. We know what my views on transfer market value is. They're made up value, but it's just the one constant that I wanted to go with. But this guy was, this guy should have been claiming overtime for his wages. So whatever his wages, he should have been getting time and a half for overtime, because he was very, very heavily worked as a goalkeeper. That defense was not good for Angers, and he was, I thought, if there's a better player than him for Angers this year, that gets their player of the year, outfield player, which I would like to see, because this guy just, he just blocked stuff that he should never have blocked. So that's the main positive on Fofana. He is, like, whether it be in League 2, League 2 or League 1, and I watched one match from League 2, and he was the same goalkeeper, but he was the same goalkeeper, but you could see growth. Obviously, look, I don't want to make it seem like that he was a fully formed person at 23 years of age. He absolutely wasn't, because one of the big things with this guy is this guy was thrown into goals at 19 years of age at Le Havre, firstly. And then he plays the full season for Le Havre in League 2 after that, gets his move to Angers and plays 11 games in his first season. I think he got that move to Angers. Yeah, he got that move to Angers. He got played 11 goals. Then the season after, he plays the full season, and he's played the full season this year as well. So he's 117, 18 games, 117. You can see it there under his belt. Very, very, very energetic goalkeeper. That's how I'm going to say it. Very, very energetic goalkeeper. Also very good in the air. Claiming those high balls, and the command of his penalty area is apparent. Like, there is no bullying this guy. I didn't see it anyway. If it is, and somebody wants to show it to me and I've gotten it wrong, absolutely, always willing to learn. But this guy is very physical, a very physical goalkeeper. He'll get out, he'll get through traffic, he'll burst players. He'll jump over a group of players to try and claim the ball. Is that always the best thing to do? Do you take yourselves out of the game? Maybe so. There are times when I think he kind of got away with stuff like that, but the frivolity of youth and all that kind of stuff. But he is calm, and he is that shot saving ability, and that ability to claim a high ball is really, really good. Now, when we get to his distribution of the ball, I thought it was fine, is how I'm going to put it. I thought it was fine. I've read a report on him. I found a report that somebody else did on him on Twitter, and they raved about his distribution. And I got me wondering, because I watched it beforehand, and I went, right, so let's just see what other people think. And I looked at it and I went, I didn't think it was brilliant, but but I didn't think it was awful either. I just thought it was like standard. So maybe I just haven't seen the right games. Maybe I just haven't seen the right games, and that's okay too, because you can't watch them all. One thing I would like to say about him is that he's I'm just going to bring up one of the pieces I had a little piece written here on him that I didn't put into my notes. He did get injured for a short period during the course of this year, but yes, that's what it was. He's looking at any of the match reports on him, or running through any of the aggregating sites like SofaScore, Who Scored, or whatever. He looks to be incredibly consistent, an incredibly consistent player as well, which is something that we like in goalkeepers. I think everybody would feel safe with that in goalkeepers. And one of the big ones here as well, as I mentioned, he's had 4.09 saves to make, and he's had 5.64 shots on target against. And his goal prevented this. He prevented 13 more goals than he should have let in this year. So if you think of XG, where people are expected to score goals, think of goals prevented as goals that, and anything that's not positive here is goals they prevented above what they were expected to prevent. 13 is huge, absolutely huge. So I don't know if this is just a 2-year wonder with this guy. I don't know how good he's going to be. I watched 3 games of his, that's it. But as I said, I was a lot more excited watching these League One goalkeepers, maybe because they're younger, than I was watching the La Liga guys. But this guy got me excited. He really did. And as did the next guy that we have. Which is Yehvann, I hope I pronounced that correctly, Diouf. Stade Rem goalkeeper. Again, 24 years of age, won't be 25 until later this year. And he is, I've just noticed there that I think I have his date of birth incorrect there. And I do, yeah, he was actually 25 on the 16th of November last year. He was 25 on the 16th of November, and he's actually only 6'1". So I didn't change those metrics there. I do need a producer to look at this, and his value comes in at about 9 million. So I was really, really, it was a pleasure to watch this guy as well. Again, an overworked goalkeeper. Essentially an overworked goalkeeper. And I don't know whether that's the sadomasochism in me or whatever the case may be, but I just like this fella just having to literally do all the donkey work there. And you can see there in his metrics, his save percentage is 76%, which is outrageously good save percentage. The amount of saves he had is 3.85. And what I want you to look at is he was busy not just in making saves, he was busy at the amount of crosses he's faced, and he was busy at the amount of shots against. Now look at the goals prevented. This guy prevented 15 goals above what he was supposed to prevent, or what he was supposed to save. 15.93, almost 16 goals. So this guy was pulling out worldies against teams, and that's exciting to see. To see somebody who's under pressure in a team that's under pressure, and being a reason why your team is not conceding goals as a goalkeeper. This may sound stupid as well, by the way. Being the reason that your team is not conceding goals as a goalkeeper is bloody important. And 15.93 goals he blocked, or he saved, that he had no right to save. And you can see that in the tape as well, because in last year he was he came in the top 5 in Ligue 1's overall advanced goalkeeping metrics as well. Again, as I mentioned about Chevalier, something about these young French goalkeepers, they're incredibly reactive goalkeepers. The reactions are brilliant, and their footwork is really good. The distribution, this guy's distribution under pressure, I wouldn't be surprised to find out that this guy played outfield. He's 6'1", not contrary to what you see there. He's 6'1". I wouldn't be surprised to find out that this guy played outfield for a good portion of his youth career. Albeit I know that he didn't. I would not be surprised to see that. His use of his feet is very, very good. He's very fast off his line as well. So no qualms with him being a sweeper keeper there. You can see him move around his box very, very quickly as well. And seems to be, I read in a report, again, obviously I didn't see any penalties, but apparently he seems to be some sort of a penalty save specialist. I think he saves like 40% of all penalties he's faced or something along those lines. I remember them saying as well. So that's interesting as well. Now, some of the weakness here with him, 6'1", not the greatest at high ball dominance, trying to get that ball in the air. Very much so a shot stopper, in the mold of a shot stopper. Think more of a Shea Given type, is what I would say here, than somebody like Marcin Bulka, who is a big, tall, Courtois type guy. I will say that his distribution of the ball, while he's comfortable with the ball and passing it around the short areas, long distribution of the ball is questionable. It's just a bit like he does a lot of it, so it shows up when he misses those passes. And then lastly, I would say, well, I said he's fast around the area. He's fast to come out. I don't know about some of his decision making. In one of the games I saw, and it slips my mind which one it was, he came bursting off his line a couple of times, and there was no need because the defenders had the situation under control. And once again, that could be the frivolity of youth or whatever, but the defenders had the situation under control. He came bursting out, caused a small bit of consternation there. While it didn't lead to a goal, it was kind of needless, if that makes sense, because he needs to refine, I suppose, and maybe communicate a small bit more. As a 25-year-old, you would hope that he's going to be able to learn that over time. So that's Yehvann Diouf. And as I said, they're the four goalkeepers. There was actually a fifth guy there that I was going to take you guys through. It was Restes from Guillaume Restes from Toulouse. And I kind of said that I wouldn't. I have the statistics here, but I'm not going to go through it. The reason being, he's only 20 years of age. He's been thrust into the limelight. He's a really, really highly thought of goalkeeper, but I think he's probably somebody that Villa will opt to go for their second goalkeeper if they do want a young goalkeeper to back up whoever they do bring in for Remy Martinez. But go watch him as well. Guillaume Restes from Toulouse as well. Very, very highly thought of goalkeeper. I think he got his break in goals at, I'm going to say he was only 17 when he got his debut. Maybe he was just gone 18 when he got his debut, and he's played the last 2 years for Toulouse in goals. So he's only just gone 20 years of age now as well. So a really young goalkeeper, really highly thought of goalkeeper. I didn't put up his statistics here because they're not very good. And to be honest with you, somebody who's that young, even albeit he's played almost as many games as some of these guys here, he's not anywhere down the arc of learning, I suppose, as these guys are. But definitely remember the name Guillaume Restes from Toulouse. He's going to be somebody over the course of the next few years that is going to get a lot of look in, and people are going to be talking about him. And maybe Aston Villa are talking about him this year. And if they are, I have the slides done. I will show them up and I will talk about him. Extremely young goalkeeper. But for the bit of work I did on these guys, I was really impressed with some of these goalkeepers. Whether it translates into the Premier League, I don't know. But a lot of young goalkeepers in France that are beginning to put their heads above the parapet and have really strong physical traits. So that was great to see as well, and gave me hope that if we do go shopping in that bargain, or in that basket, should I say, not that bargain because it's not bargain at all, in that basket of Ligue 1, there may be some people that we may be able to pluck from that league and turn them into superstars like we have done arguably with Remy Martinez so far. So thanks so much everybody for watching. It's going to be a tough slog. We will be back later on today. Myself and Paddy and Jay do have a guest coming on our podcast tonight, a famous Aston Villa supporter coming on our podcast tonight to preview the Man United match. So please join us tonight, Friday the 23rd of May at 9:30. We will be back again for a live podcast there and bring all your questions. But in the meantime, everybody, stay safe, stay healthy, and all that's left to say is up the Villa.